This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Emily Banazzi.
It was party school. I think Syracuse got #1 party school of the year that year. But that was Syracuse. We were ESF.
Why didn't I go to those schools?
It's okay. It's okay. You didn't really miss much. It was just people getting drunk. It was just a lot of beer. A lot of beer. And hot dogs.
Oh God.
Yeah. Not good. I was a vegetarian for since 15 to all throughout college.
Why to just
I'm happy I was.
Okay.
Dude, I stayed away from a lot of gross things. I'm so happy.
Okay.
But yeah, so, actually before I had gone to the main campus, I went to Italy with my grandpa, like I said. So this is like a really major moment because it took me back to my roots of things, and it took me back to like where my grandfather was raised.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Did you like it?
yeah,
Italy fun.
I felt like I was me. I felt like I found a little bit of me, and it was great. And I would go back there in a heartbeat. It helped me have a connection to meat again. I know that sounds crazy, but the meat and the food there is just so genuine, and uh, they have really good food values, I feel, on their food. So it was just really delicious. And like you said earlier, like when you went to your countries in Pakistan, right, where they would offer you something, and if you needed to modify it, it would be considered rude, or that's not what they had, or it wasn't enough. Very same where I was.
That happened to me in outside Amsterdam. Outside like an hour and a half train ride. I had a friend and she was doing some scientific work that I don't even understand. She was doing after PhD something there, and I was like, I'm gonna visit you.
Yeah.
So I went there, and she was living in the town and took me out. She was in a busy schedule for a dinner, and that was some sort of grounded beef, I guess. And I asked the dude, the waiter, I said, "Hey, do you have a ketchup or some sauce?" And he looked at me, and she was like, "Oh, he's not from here. It's okay." And then she was like, "You don't say that here." Like again, it's kind of like not that flavorful, but yeah, so I get it.
That's what I feel salt is for Italians. Salt?
They don't.
You need salt? Yes, salt is like a big. But no, I enjoyed that so much. Oh my gosh, I feel like American culture is just not there as much as other countries. Like their cultures are just so strong and integral, and you could just see it so evident. It's just so beautiful. And I have always lacked with understanding what American culture is. Like, what is it? I don't even know.
Yeah, because see, we all come from some sort of background, and it's not as I was saying earlier.
But
It's the U.S. in particular, or the makeup of the current residents,
right.
not the alien. I'm not using illegal language here. Like residents, people living here, uh, they are not that old to create the culture.
Right.
So there will be different.
Mm.
Yeah, but you went there. You came back. Where was you? So.
Oh, so yeah, we oh yeah, so Italy was really great. Um I think that everybody should go back to where their grandparents came from at least
Yes,
once.
they can survive and not
Yeah.
getting killed or something.
Exactly.
Country.
No, you're right.
So be careful. Read State Department's instructions on the website.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's a really good reminder and a good perspective because yes. I'm actually working on getting my citizenship to Ireland.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I want that. Just to have. I don't
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so when I'm living in Syracuse, that was interesting. I mean, I used to skateboard a lot. Used to
With
skate in
boyfriend.
school. No, I didn't
Oh
have
wait.
anybody
So
at the time.
when did this boyfriend come into the picture?
That was more towards the end. I had, that was more towards the end of I had already graduated from college now, and I'm working at the Museum of Science and Technology, which is the most in Syracuse. It's a cool museum. But we were doing an outreach program for the inner city schools where we taught a science program within one of the middle schools. Um, so we would teach 6th, 7th, and 8th graders science pop up, like a little pop up. Sounds fun, right? They hated us.
I don't know.
They threw the desks out the window. They threw computers out the window.
See, teaching is usually different than just being. I remember as part of one church and their kids, middle school, junior high, we got along well. But they used to think I'm cool. But I think teaching is different. They view you in a different kind of role, and
Depends on where you're doing it. Inner city schools are hard, especially in middle school. So, like, in the middle of Syracuse, that was, like, very emotionally, taxing. So emotionally taxing because it's just, like, the things that these kids are going through, these kids shouldn't have to be witnessing the behaviors, I guess, that are happening outside of the schools and the ones that are happening within the schools just because of the kids were so traumatized by what's going on in their lives. So I actually, you get paid $20 an hour to work that job. That was really good pay at that time. That means that they need it. They need you to work this job because nobody really can handle it. It was very emotionally taxing. Like, these kids were very troubled. And that's where I came to my understanding that foreign students value education more than American students do, because I had witnessed that the American students that I had in those classrooms were disruptive. They were uh they would destroy stuff. They thought everything was garbage. And the foreign students, the ones that were from Nicaragua, Jamaica, Ethiopia, we had a couple students from. We also had a couple of refugees from Sudan. And because there was Syracuse was like a big hub for refugees. Um, a big
I
hub,
didn't know.
huge, huge, especially in the more poverty-ridden areas. All of those houses that were kind of left after the 80s and stuff were filled with refugees from Sudan. So when I'm in Syracuse, right, you had to be on your game the with your studying. You really did. You couldn't have a GPA that was failing, or you'd get kicked out. I learned that the hard way the first semester because my GPA was really shit because I was working and trying to manage this whole new school. ESF was hard. And you work through it, you really got to study very, very hard. Um so, as much as the partying happened, we definitely had to take it seriously in order to pass. And I found escape through longboarding. I loved skateboarding. I loved listening to music. I loved playing music. So I got really creative with some of my friends I lived with. But a lot of my roommates turned on me. So, one of them stole a bunch of stuff from me and pawned my iPad and my GoPro and stole a bunch of jewelry from me. So that was really a shame because that was my first taste of just how spiteful people can be, even though you're living with them. What the hell? If you needed money, just ask, just talk to me about it. We can figure out a way where you can make it, or I can lend you what I have, but you don't go stealing people's stuff. Have the common decency. So there was a lot of that going on, and Syracuse was a really rough place because if you didn't stay within the certain areas of the university, you kind of went out where I was teaching, at certain hours of the night, you get your stuff stolen. You get mugged, who knows what could have happened. There were a couple times where I was followed. Pretty crazy traumatizing event that happened to me was I was walking broad daylight down the street, Westcott Street, which is the better part of town too, and busy. This van full of people were just coming this way, and they saw me come this way. I was walking up this way. They come around, they make a U-turn, they pull up next to me. Three of them get out. They're trying to talk to me and trying to coerce me to come into their van, and I don't know. I think I just pulled I'm a crazy person move, and I just ran and made a scene. I just got out of it, but that was creepy. Some creepy stuff happened there. And Syracuse is still going through that because of the inner city struggles that are going on, the poverty, and the city is completely split in half by a huge, huge throughway creating projects. But their downtown area is lifted up. But there was a lot of shootings and stuff. I used to work downtown in Syracuse, and there was some shootings at the bars, and it was crazy. And also, some of the kids that I would work with would have some, they oh my god, they get shot. These kids were playing with guns and they get shot, and they'd be like, "Oh, they had it coming." It's you're 11 years old. You see, well, then have it coming. That's crazy to say. So as much as I was doing, environmental work and working at a nature center, I got a call from my landlord at the time, I was renting a room for like $300. Okay. It was so cheap and awesome. My landlord calls me up and I'm working a seasonal job as an environmental educator at Lime Hollow. He calls me up and he's like, "Hey Emily, I was really impressed by the way that you handled the lease situation with siding and everything. Like, I'm looking for a leasing agent. Do you need a job?" And it was coming towards the end of the summer where my seasonal job was ending and I was like, "Sure, I'll pick up the job with you." He's going to pay me $17 an hour. So I started to learn real estate and I ended up working with him while studying still, working with him doing real estate, finding all my friends' apartments, like going into houses and like seeing these crazy houses, like some abandoned houses with like crazy stuff in it and like seeing what people leave behind, American waste or just like American perfection and glory. It's like real estate is such an amazing view into the way people live. And I'm so fortunate that, I mean, I've been doing real estate for about 10 years now. Well, since then. And just as, just because I'm generally interested in it, not because I'm trying to become like a shark or anything. It's just I'm interested in it. And I love real estate. And yeah, he got me into real estate really pretty early, I thought. And you know, doing leasing for doing leasing in Syracuse was fun because you just can put your friends next to you and like you can just get the cool apartment and like, see all these cool stuff. And then, you know, I was getting my real estate license and I get a call from my doctor. And my doctor's like, "You're pregnant."
And wait, so when did you meet this gentleman?
I had met him like 2 months prior. So this is like
Prior to your job as a lead?
I graduated in December.
Where
I
did
was
you
still
meet?
working. I met him at a potluck, so he went to the same school as I. I met him through mutual friends, who we actually just went to their wedding last year. It's pretty nice. We met at their apartment, just at a potluck. Pretty neat. Really nice way to meet somebody, I think. And yeah, so I had graduated college like that December, and I had met my fiance like, within the couple of weeks or months after that. And then in the summertime, I was taking my real estate test, you know, trying to get my real estate license to like, be an agent. I just graduated college. I didn't really have a job. I wasn't working in environmental education anymore at that time. I was kind of like an open bird, like trying to figure things out. I was originally going to go back to Long Island and go back to my hometown and help this local farm that's still there develop an environmental program. But I actually found out that I was actually going to have a baby. So I was like, huh, this is very interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
And
at that time, that phase in life, were you, now you consider yourself, you claim to
I'm
be a follower
27
of,
now.
you claim to be a follower of Jesus, right?
No, not
Uh,
really. Not vaguely.
so your friend passed away.
Yes. Thank you for bringing this back up.
That was an event that affected you.
Yes.
But like you said, because his mom was very religious, so that was also the time you got pointed out at God. And I used more language like the Spirit of God was maybe working behind the scenes. You uh, then left. Fast forward, you had a boyfriend, you were
N-
happy, you got pregnant, you have a new job.
No, no, not really at this time. So when if you really want to get intricate into this detail, I can because I have thought about this before. When that was going on with my friend and his mom had said that, I was actually pretty angry. I don't know. My first reaction was I was actually really angry because I felt like it was always just like people resulting to that and just saying like, "Oh, it's just in God's hands," like kind of giving it up and throwing in the towel in a way. And I was a little angry at that point because I wanted her to validate her son more and not just validate so much of the power into, that, which I can understand her viewpoint. And that's totally her right to do what that is not that is not my step for her. And it's not my lane. But at that moment, I was angry, and I know that's like it, but that's my real. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought about that, for years after, because I'm like, why did I feel angry about that? Because that's all that she ever really wanted, and she was able to get that closure with him, which I thought was so great, and I'm so grateful for her to have that. And it helped me too when after I look at it now, like it's helping me more to cope with what has happened. So I'm grateful for her perspective and her uh, knowledge on the whole matter. Really, it is knowledge, I think. And I also just was, I think that people can get angry at faith because they can say, well, why would you do this to me? Or like, why are you taking this from me? Why did you need to take this from me? So they get angry because it's like they think that I feel like I don't really know how to talk about this properly, but like, you know, I feel as if more control could have been done. Like why didn't you come in and damage control? Or like where were you when we needed you the most? So you could take that rhetoric and like really go with it. So that's kind of like where my viewpoint went with it. I was like kind of giving up, and I had gone through so much just like getting out of my town and then having one of my best friends pass away and then going to the woods and like learning everything and then still having people spite me, saying that they're my friends and then do things and then meeting different, romance people and then them doing things that are just not right. So it was just kind of like a consecutive back door. Like I was constantly just getting the back door to things. And then I wanna circle this back, so I'm so happy we're doing this, but I ended up getting a dog on my 24th birthday, and I said, "I'm tired of feeling, like, numb. Like, I'm tired of feeling like I have nothing to live for," you know? Like, that's kinda just like, I'm tired of just, like, letting all of these things happen to me and, like, getting myself in situations that I really shouldn't be in and allowing people to penetrate, um my aura, like, stop putting me down, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, I got a dog, and he saved my life. He's still alive. Case was awesome. He's my little chihuahua. I got a dog on Craigslist, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna, like, have something to live for, have something to take me out, get me up, and go do something, get out of my apartment," you know? So, like, a year into having Queso, I went I had just gotten out of a relationship. This guy had broken up with me. It kinda blindsided me, but looking back now, he was drunk for the majority of the time that we were together, so it's not like I really knew who he was anyway. Wish him the best, but anyway, so he breaks up with me kind of out of nowhere, really embarrassingly, and I never felt respected in that relationship ever. So I went to the park that was around the block from my house, and I took my dog, and I was like, I'm gonna take my dog for a walk. Like this sucks. Like, ugh, can't believe this. And I go to the park, and I'm just like hysterically crying, just like done, like with everything, like looking back at everything, really. And like this is the time where it's like, I'm 24, so like, nobody even knows that I had gone through just like my friend passing away. I just met all these new people. I'm in this new place. Like, where am I? Like, what am I doing? And then it just like shocked me. I was like, I am literally all I need. Like, I got the shock of inner peace, of just like inner contentment, like what you said. I can make my own fun. Like, I'm all that I need. I just, like, started saying it, like, loud, like, really loud. I didn't care. I was in, like, I had no self-image at that point. I was like, I'm just, like, screaming this out in the middle of this park in Syracuse like a freaking maniac. My dog's running around with no leash. Oh my gosh, it was so ridiculous. It was so dramatic. It was cold. It was, like, January. It was so cold. Um and I'm just like, "I'm all I need." I'm like, "Enough." Like, "I'm all I need." I just kept saying it and
Mm.
saying it and saying it. I was just like, "I am not going to just, like, keep putting myself in relationships with people that are failing me and just like, I am all I need. I have to make myself happy. That's it. That's it." And then, like, shortly after that, that's when I met my fiancé. So it was, like, great because trying to fill into that point of where I said, like, you can't operate as a half of a person. You have to find that inner contentment within yourself in order to give yourself, I think, respectively to another person in a commitment way. So, you know, with me doing that, giving myself my power, my inner peace like that, I did feel like a whole person at the time when I had met him. And we met at a great way. We didn't meet at a bar or through Tinder. We met very naturally. And, a little bit of stalking on my end to try to get him on Facebook and like be like, hey, you want to hang out? Always getting denied a couple of times, which was fine.
You initiated it then?
I did. I reached out to him on Facebook and I said, hey, do you want to walk your dogs together?
Yeah.
And then he like said no. And then I was like, okay. And, I said, well, when you're going to go back to Tori and Parker's, they're having a potluck this weekend. Like I met you at the other one. And I was like, what's your favorite dessert? Like trying to fish for things. And he told me, and then he ended up not coming and I made him his favorite dessert. So I felt like I was getting like, rejected again by somebody that I found really interesting. I ended up walking to his house that night with the pies. And I was just like, look what you're missing. Like walked away like crazy. Like why would he text me back? So he ended up texting me back. We had a good little start there. Um and I took him on a couple of tests. Like I took him to the hippie commune because if you can handle the hippie commune, you could handle anything. Okay. In Syracuse. So I just wanted to see how he was, like personality wise. So one of our first pictures is there. It's pretty cool. And then not saying that we're hippies or at all, but it was just like an environment that like if you could just kind of like not judge and be in, like you got a good personality. Like, you know what? You're fine. And then we went to this festival called Grassroots, which is in Ithaca. And if you can handle grassroots, you're in. You're in. Like it's just you have to be like very like open. Very open. So we had those experiences together, which were really great. Then we only knew each other for like 2 months, found out that we were gonna have a child together, which was very serious, super serious. I mean, I just got my own apartment. Like I'm living alone. Like I make $700 a week. Like what am I gonna do with a kid? This is crazy. I don't even know you. What are we doing? Like, so as a programmed millennial, what do you think I did?